As you know, it's going to be a bumpy ride over the next few years. So tighten the chin strap on your helmets, and we're going to get through it together. So we'll help you any way we can. So let's get into this. Is Canada setting the stage for a housing crash that will rival the US in 2008? You know, the great financial crisis in 2008 was just, it was bad. It was really bad. And people lost their houses. You have government support here that's trying to prop up this this market. And when you come to think of it, if OSFI and the regulator push these banks to increase everybody's payments to what they should be paying, that would have caused a tremendous problem for the real estate market, okay? When they gave consideration to these folks to not put them in dire straits, it was already that lifesaver thrown out in the water for these folks, okay? So we're dealing with it delicately. Nobody wants people to lose their homes, okay? But the bank's got to take some form of responsibility. And I don't think we're going to see as severe a recession and crash that people think, but there are going to be some casualties. And there has to be, because that's the market. And hopefully there's not many of them. Hopefully people will have the foresight to get ahead of it and sell their home before it gets to that stage. But there's a lot of people right now reevaluating their home situation, whether or not it's worth it to continue paying the high level of interest cost that is required to keep that home. So I don't think it'll be as severe as 2008, but I do think there will be pain coming for some. And remember, not everybody has a mortgage. There's only a small portion, like I think it's under 40% of people have mortgages in Canada, right? There are a lot of people that don't have mortgages at all, and then there's people that rent. So, you know, it impacts under 40%, and I'll leave it at that. Vince, what comes in the mayhem of an actual recession? There's no question when a recession hits, people lose their jobs. And we're going to start seeing some job losses in the construction sector. Building permits are down significantly. They're down about 17-18%, and that's higher than April of 2020 when COVID first struck. So that is a little bit concerning. When you see developers holding back from projects, they're not going to be building. That means people are going to be out of work. The construction sector in Canada represents about 8% of all jobs in the country. If that community starts losing jobs and starts shedding development projects and whatnot, people will lose their jobs, and we're going to start seeing employment head up. And economists are suggesting that we could see anywhere between 1.5% to 2% increase in unemployment. And sadly, this is what the Bank of Canada needs to see in order for rates to come back down. They're seeing GDP numbers still elevated, predominantly because of immigration, okay? And it's creating problems because our residents here are struggling. Inflation's at a level where grocery prices are through the roof. Everybody knows this. You know, interest costs are starting to impact household budgets and discretionary spending. We're starting to see inventories pile up at businesses. It is starting to factor into what the plan was. And as I always say, respect the lag. It takes time for everything to filter through. All the savings that was accumulated during COVID is slowly getting decimated. People's savings rates are back down to nothing, okay? Because they're trying to get through. So it's becoming a problem. It's becoming a real problem. And, you know, the recession, we'll see job losses, we'll see slowdowns, we'll see retail sales drop, and you're going to see a lot of things close up. So that's what's going to happen. What is a B lender rate now? The B market is very expensive. We're seeing one-year rates in the 6s, some in the 7s. Not very attractive, but they're one-year terms. So some folks have to realize they got to bite the bullet and appraisals are starting to come in a little bit lighter, right? So a lot of these folks who had an expectation of values to be at a higher level just are getting cut at the knees and having to come up with a little bit more to make up for the shortfall, because lenders are really being more conservative, and the stress test is limiting how much people could qualify for. So it's creating a bit of a challenge. But there are options available. If you do need help in these type of cases, please reach out to our team. We have a great group here. We're very detailed. We like to really drill down into budgets, try to identify some opportunities people could save some money. And we're here ready to take your call, deal with your situation. And if you do need some help, please reach out. We'll be happy to assist in any way we can. Where do you get the shirts, Vince? Okay, so I just picked up a new batch of shirts. This is, I don't know if anybody knows who this is, but I'm eager to hear your answers. I like the retro stuff. The Coop Inc., Johnny from the Coop, is my guy who finds me my shirts. I do send him some pictures that I want him to put on shirts for me. I got a big batch, and over the next few weeks, you're going to see most of them. So I'll try to rotate them through. What term should buyers pick now? Again, I really like the 2 and 3 year term. If you're in the alternative space, just go for the 1 year and try to see if you could hammer down that debt in that period of time. But the rates are ugly in that part of the world. How long do you wait before switching, as another rate hike is pending July 12th? Okay, well, this is a call I get all the time. People are still in variables. They want to know when to lock in. You're going to be at 695 less 1, so 595 today. If you could get a 2 or 3 year rate in that mid-5 range, now they're even inching up the high 5s, you might as well do it. If there's another rate increase on July 12th and a potential second one in the fall, you're going to be at 645, okay, if there's 2 quarter-point hikes. If you want to go through that pain, instead of locking into maybe a 2 or 3 year rate in the mid-5s, I don't know, like it just makes sense. Like the boats left the dock, like the trains left the station on locking in. Like a lot of people should have locked in a while ago, but they just couldn't pull the trigger. And these static mortgage payments made it very difficult for people. Even though the rates were going up, their payment was still the same, and it put them into this false sense of security. But now that they've hit trigger rates and are now in negative amortizations with these Buzz Lightyear mortgages, it's causing a lot of problems. And now they're reluctant to lock in, so they've held off for as long as they did, and it screwed them. It screwed them because they didn't want to lock in at 3.5. They didn't want to lock in at 4.5. Now we're at 5.5. And because they're in that static payment, the bank themselves screwed them in these products, because why would you want to lock in at a higher payment when you're not having any change to your payment? It's really bizarre how this is played out. And it was a shitty product. It was a terrible designed product. And shame on these banks for not doing anything about it, because it just made people's situations worse. OSFI has now come in, the regulator, and says, you got to attack these extended amortizations quickly. They want these banks to start solving these problems, because come renewal time, you either got to pony up a lot of money to bring that back into the traditional amortization, or you're going to see a huge payment increase, which brings you back to the original amortization, add the prepayment, add the balance that's been added to your mortgage, plus the added interest cost. It's going to be a shit show. And that's what a lot of people are facing. It's really become a challenge. We're helping people through it. And, you know, these banks, Royal, CIBC, TD, and BMO, just, you know, they put a product out there that was just put the client at a disadvantage. I don't get it. It's not good. What does OSFI propose the banks do? Is it lose-lose situation? Well, OSFI has told them that if they're not going to address the issue, then they have to incur some of these balances in loan loss provisions, okay? Because they have to anticipate that there's risk. When OSFI is suggesting that there's considerable risk, they probably have some visibility on the fact that rates are going to be high for a while, and it's not sustainable. So as these mortgages come through renewals, you're starting to see some consideration given to extended amortizations, going back to the original start time of that amortization. We're seeing some flexibility, but they still want to have maximum 30-year AMs. It's making it difficult, but it's a wait and see approach at this point. But you ask a very good question. From me and the L Mortgage team, I want to wish everybody a happy Canada Day weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.